Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tides Watch. In this episode, we're going to break down the big win by Halifax versus the Calgary Wild. There's nothing more fun talking about a win, right? The last two games have been losses, but now we're back at it, back on the winning train as it's called. So yeah, let's talk about it. We'll go over as usual, the starting lineup. We'll talk about the match, some points and keys that I found. We'll talk about player performances, and then we'll talk about the upcoming game for the Tides. Before we get to the starting lineups, hit that subscribe button. You can find me on Spotify at Tides Watch, and you can find me on YouTube at Official Tides Watch. On Spotify, what I'm going to start doing is putting a poll up. And to find that poll, you just scroll down on the episode. So every episode, a new poll, and answer the question. So last week's poll question was, will the Tides turn things around against Calgary? We had 66% say yes and 33% say no. So I'm glad the yeses were correct in this one. Now to the starting lineup. So for this one, it was Foster Inman in goal again. So she started all the matches, and she's looked good so far this year, and she's been steady, which is something that we needed. I know Annika Toth, of course, is goalkeeper of the year, so we needed someone to come in and if she was not fit, which it sounds like she's injured at the moment, we needed someone to come in and get the job done, and she's certainly done that. In the back four, we had Allen, Cadorza. So Naya Cadorza was coming back in. She didn't start the last game. It was Annika Leslie who also had a good game, but it's nice to see Cadorza back in, Addie Wakers, and Jubes Valorand. In the middle, we had Sarah Taylor, who gets another start this match. I believe she started the last match as well. In beside her, she had Cho has played every single match, and Sin Mu was the third person in the middle there. Up front, we had Sid Kennedy back. Tiff Cameron started the last match, so Sid Kennedy was back. She had a really good last. When she came on, it was about 17 minutes ish in the game, and she really put her stamp on in those 17 minutes. So I'm glad she earned a start for this one. Jordan Rhodes was the furthest forward player, and Sorella Miller was on the other wing for this one. So let's talk about the starting lineup. So I already mentioned Cadorza back in, which was nice. Sarah Taylor, who I thought had her best game last game, I felt like she played really, really well this game as well. So a deserved start. Sinmu, an interesting pick, especially with Karima Lemire, who I think is one of the steadier midfielders. I know she had kind of one down game, but I wouldn't even call it a down game. I would say there was a few passes that just weren't on, but everyone's human, right? So very surprising Karima didn't get a start here, especially against Calgary, where in a game where you needed, in my opinion, and a lot of fans' opinions, that this was kind of a must-win game, playing one of the lower teams in the league. And coming off two losses, right? This would have been one where you thought you would play everyone who could play. Maybe there's a knock. Maybe she's not 100% fit, but yeah, Karima wasn't playing, and I also like Julie Pedersen more in that position. I think she gives you more. I think she's also can take a few set pieces too. I think defensively she's more sound. So maybe Moo had a good practice and earned a start here. But yeah, for me that was an interesting one. And of course, I already talked about Sid getting her opportunity after not starting the last match. So before the lineups were announced, it was mentioned that there was a few players out. So Nakamura was out with an injury, Annika Toth, as well as Kat Jordan, as well as Julia Benatti. So I think this lineup was whole in part, due to some injuries, but I also think Stephen Hart rewarding some players for perhaps some good practices and some, good in-game performances as well. So let's get into the action. So in the 70th minute, the Tides were dominating from the jump. Stephen Hart's very, very good at getting his players, I mentioned this before, his players to start well, start halves well. And I think that's a huge, boost to Stephen Hart because he is a very good man, woman manager, someone who can get the players into it and off the hop, which is important, right? If you can start well, who knows? Maybe you get an early goal, an early chance, and yeah, this paid off in the 7th minute. Say gives a nice through ball to Jubes Velerand and is able to get a shot on net, which Miller in a good position, right in front of the net, where rebounds and anything can happen, gets the rebound off the goalie and tucks it home. In the 14th minute, a good passing play by Calgary, and they get a great shot on net. And of course, Riley Foster Inman makes a fantastic save. She's showing her shot stopping ability. And I would say this was one of the rare chances that Calgary had on net. The defense were really organized, really set, and the midfielders were coming back to support. So it was a rare chance, but I'm glad Riley Foster Inman was on her toes. In the 21st minute, Halifax earns a corner, and for this one, it was Sarah Taylor giving the delivery on the corners. This one was spot on. She crossed it in to the point where Jubes didn't even have to jump, and she heads it home. So I think there was two things here. Is one was the service was fantastic, and two was Calgary's defending. I don't know how you leave a player that wide open to the point where they don't even have to jump for a corner. They just head it home, and Jubes gets her first one of the day. Another nice play by the Tides. In the 24th minute, we get another goal. So Tides are already up 2-0, and Addie Wickers plays a great ball to Sorella Miller, who makes a cutting run and tucks it home into the bottom corner. So not only does Sarah Lemily get her first goal this season, she also gets her second goal this season. What a day for Sorella. Yeah, fantastic. And with Karima Lemire out, we needed someone to supply those longer passes. And for this one, it seemed to be a lot of Addie Wakers who could find her players. And Naya Cadorza had a good few passes as well. So it was nice to adjust that. Okay, so yes, we can pass short, we can find people's feet, and we can play like that. But sometimes you can find a player making a streaking run, and I'm glad Addie was able to do that. What I want to say as a ex player and I know the coach is gonna say too is for this goal, watch Sarah Taylor's run here. What she does is she's the furthest forward person for this one, and she just cuts back. She tracks back, kind of coming towards the ball. So what that does is the defense is looking and saying, okay, where's she going? And a few players follow, and the ones who don't follow look over, and now their focus is on Sarah Taylor, which when Addie plays this ball, it's over her and over the defense, which allows Miller the time and space to come in and score that goal. I know it's kind of a small thing, but it's those small details that really make a difference. And the person who does this the best on the team is Cho. There's a lot of times where you just see Cho moving, you're thinking, okay, what's she doing? Like, why did she make that run? And what she's doing is she's drawing defenders in, drawing attention away from others, and opening up space for the players in behind her, which maybe Sarah Taylor saw that and was inspired and said, okay, well, if I make this run, now Sorella Miller's on a one-on-one, and if she wins that battle, now she's in on the goalie all alone, which is exactly what happened. So, or perhaps this is a set play. Like it looked pretty. It looked too, it looked too obvious or too timed to be just kind of just out of the blue. So, but a really good play by the Tides. And I love that. I mentioned before that Sarah Taylor had one of her best games last game. I think she even improved upon this in this one. In the 45th minute, just before the half, Naya gives a nice longer pass to Jubes out wide, and a great save by the keeper. It could have been 4-0 here before halftime, but I'll take the 3-0, and what a start for our Halifax Tides. This is kind of the bounce back that we were all looking for and hoping for, because this is what the team can be when they're playing all systems go, front foot with possession. Let's attack, attack, attack. In the second half, Calgary, you could tell because they're home, they made a few changes and they were trying to get back in the game, right? 3-0 down at home is not what you want to be. So in the 51st minute, kind of out of nowhere, really, they get a shot off and it goes off the crossbar. I'm not sure Riley Fosterman would have got there, but she was saved by the bar and very, very happy with that. A few minutes later, in the 53rd minute, Cheyenne Allen makes a great run and gets the pass, and the keeper comes out and takes her out. When you look at it, it's like, okay, is that a penalty? Is not. To me, it's not a penalty. It was just outside the box, but it was definitely a yellow card, which is what the keeper received. In the 56th minute, another weird bounce for Naya. She seems to be pretty unlucky with this, where I look at a few games ago where she was playing striker and had a gaping net and the ball just bounced over her foot. And for this one, she was playing defense and the ball just bounced over her foot. And again, Fosterman with another great save. In the 63rd minute, the Stewart twins, who I thought, to be honest, I thought Calgary's best players. They're both 17, I believe, right now, and they're quite good. Like I saw a few games of them last year, and I'm like, ooh, maybe they're just getting hyped because they're young and they're twins, and but yeah, I could see their development in a year. So these two players are going to be very scary in a few years' time. They had a nice interplay with each other, and just missed a sitter in front of the net. The defense was asleep on this one, but just put it wide, and this could have got Calgary back into the game. This could have been a 3-1 game right now. I think Stephen Hart noticed that as well, because in the 64th minute, he brought off Sorella Miller and brought on Stella Downing, which was nice to see. Stella gets her first game time of the year. She was, I believe, the first signing for the Tides in the off season there, and just unfortunately because of injuries hasn't been able to play. So a lot of fans were able to see her play, which was really exciting. In the 75th minute, Sid Kennedy came off for Tiff Cameron, and Jordan Rhodes came on for Julie Pedersen. So there was a bit of a change up in the lineup here. Sarah Taylor actually moved to the forward position, was the forward most player. So it was interesting to see that Tiff didn't go there. Tiff continued on the wing. But yeah, it was nice to see again that versatility where you can have a central midfielder play the striker position. Kind of more of a false nine, kind of similar to what Julia Benatti would do or Megumi Nakamura did when she was healthy the first few games of the season. So it's nice to see that the Tides team doesn't need that out-and-out striker. We still can play with a false nine. In the 78th minute, I think so far for the Tides, the goal of the season, by guess who? Jubes Velerand with an absolute stunner, laces into the top corner. Like I am, and with the right foot as well. I am just shocked at what Jubes is able to do this season, being able to go forward. And she had to play striker at some point in her career, because that finish looked like, wow, like she's played there every day of her life. Unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, please go look that up. Another just Great goal by Jubes. Second of the day. Absolutely fantastic. 4-0 for our Tides. And then the 80th minute, just after that Jubes wonder goal there, a mistake by Addie Wakers allows Thornton, the Calgary player, to come in, and she misses the net. So one thing I'm thinking of is, as I'm seeing Calgary miss chances, I'm thinking this was the Tides pre this game. The Tides had quite a few chances, but just weren't able to get it on target or put it where they want to be, and came out of those games with either a draw or losses. And to me, this is kind of the Tide season here. Is when we make the right decisions and get the ball on frame, good things happen. They really do, and we saw it so far, 4-0, and it could have been more. Calgary could have had a few, but Riley Foster-Inman was there, and they made their own mistakes. But yeah, it's a game of opportunities and chances, and you need to take them to win. In the 81st minute, Moo comes off and Karima Lemire comes on, and yeah, Karima, listen, you could see noticeably what she brings, right? Not only off the set pieces, not only off the long balls, but she's that taller kind of frame in the middle where she can win those aerial battles that Cho might not necessarily need to or have to win. She can also get back defensively, and she's long, which allows those slide tackles. She has a lot of reach with those, and yeah, it was really nice to see her get some time before the next game, whether she's carrying an injury or not. It's nice to get her some playing time for sure. In the 88th minute, pardon me, Jubes to Tiff, and Tiff Cameron gives a nice cross to Sella, which she hits first time. Maybe she should have took a touch there, or just kind of get a cleaner hit on it, because she kind of mishits it and it goes straight to the goalie, and she had the whole net. I would say this is kind of that rust, just shaking off that rust for Stella, because if she can convert those chances, because a minute later she had another chance one-on-one with the goalkeeper. She uses her speed, uses her technical ability, gets in on net, and then another mishit right to the keeper, and you're thinking, oh, Stella. But from what you saw, if she can shake off the rust, she's going to be another significant piece of this team, because her work rate and her desire to go after her defenders one-on-one and take people on is something that I think we need on those wing positions. Not to discredit anyone who's playing there now. I think Sid had a good game, and I think Cirilla Miller had a great game with her 2 goals there. But I think if they take on their players more, it will allow the other midfielders to come in and say, okay, I'm open too, and it just creates mismatches and opportunities, right? So, yeah, that's all I had for the game notes. But yeah, it was a really good game, 4-0 win for our Tides, and a really, really good statement win. So now I'm gonna go over the player performances. So we'll start with Foster-Inman in net. I think she played really, really well. She came up big when she had to. She didn't have to make too many saves relatively to the other games, but when she was called upon, she played great. Cheyenne Allen had another good game where she could get forward. She could make her defensive stops as well. Moving over to Cardoza, another good game. It was nice to see her back in. She basically gave the Wild players nothing clean to look at, right? Everything was either going to be tricky, or you had to make a good shot, which is all you can ask of your defenders. Addie Wakers as well. Both her and Naya gave some good long balls. Addie with the assist on the Miller goal, on her second goal, pardon me. And yeah, it was really good. Jubes Velerand, I'm running out of superlatives for her, right? And we're gonna have to create a new dictionary for her for all the good words and good things she's been doing. Player of the match for me, absolutely. That goal, I think, is going to be up there for goal of the season. We'll see how it all plays out. Lots of matches left. But yeah, it was a peach of a goal. Um, Sarah Taylor next up. I just want to talk about Sarah Taylor just a little bit here. You go back to last season, and I know there were some injuries and some confidence stuff that she was going through, but I think the last 3 games of this season, I want to say, they gave Sarah Taylor the start. And I think it was more to see, okay, we know what players we want to keep. We're kind of looking to see who's going to be back here next year, who fits. And I would say Sarah is right on that bubble. I think she was kind of that, okay, maybe she doesn't have it, maybe she does, but she's not bringing it. There are times in the play where she was hesitant. You just weren't sure what she was about. So when she was brought back this year, I think like most fans, happy. Another kind of local, but you just weren't sure what she was going to bring. And with the injuries and the chances and opportunities, this is it for her now. And not only has she, lived up to what the expectations are, I think she's exceeding expectations now, where it's not just about, okay, well, Sarah's going to be a part of the team. It's like, okay, well, should she be starting, right? Like there's a true question about that, because the last 2 games have been really, really good for her in the middle of the park there. And as you could see at the end where she played a little bit of forward, there's a little bit of versatility there. So I love that her fan club, she seems to have a fan club that travels well. So I'm really excited for her. And if she continues this type of play, yeah, I think she's going to be, battling for a midfielder roster spot, which I think going into the season, I don't think a lot of people had her labeled there. I think it was more of a rotational player, a spot start every now and then. But I think now she's worked her way into the conversation. Next up is Cho. Another good game, another 90 minutes. Yeah, I think we'll talk about Cho towards the end of the season, saying this was probably one of the most important signings in the entire NSL, right? To sign a living legend in Korea, in the game, really. It's not just in her home country. A lot of people know Cho, and if you know women's soccer or just soccer in general, you've heard the name before. And the fact that the Tides were able to get a player like that to boost their lineup and teach their young players and their experienced players too of what a pro does and looks like. Yeah, I've been really impressed, and again, she had a good game in this one. Next up is Seen Moo. uh, I'm just not sure there. She had an okay game. There's times where she was late for tackles, times where she was late in her position, where you had to see Naya come in or you had to see Addie come out of position to kind of clean things up. I'm just not 100% convinced there. Perhaps Stephen the Hart is, again, like I said, seeing something in practice. But I thought, Julie Pedersen did more when she came on. Krima Lemire did more when she came on as well. So maybe there's some injury things we're not sure about. Of course, we don't know the behind the scenes, but yeah, I'm just not convinced with seeing Moo yet. But maybe more playing time. She'll get there, kind of maybe a Sarah Taylor like. But yeah, I'm just not sure at this juncture in time, if she's the starter when people aren't 100% healthy. Next up, we'll go to Sid Kennedy. I think Sid had a much improved game from her past games. Again, we're still waiting for that moment from Sid, but I thought she put in some good crosses. I thought she had a nice shot there that was saved by the keeper. But yeah, I just we're still waiting for that. Kind of like Miller today, right? She had that kind of statement, 2 goals. One was just really, really good positioning, and one was a nice run and a nice pass, but still a lot of work to do, right? You still had to outpace your defender. You had to shoulder them off. Okay, now I'm in position. Now I'm in one on one, and a nice side finish to the corner, which Miller did. So yeah, so I think Cyrano Gay came. I think Miller. If Jubes doesn't score that wonder goal, you're probably talking about her as uh, player of the match. So yeah, both wingers brought it today, which was nice. And Jordan Rhodes, I think, had a good game. She's the type of player where I think if she's not scoring goals, her work rate and interplay with players makes up for that, right? And there's, like we said, in this season, I think it's going to have to be scoring by committee. So I don't think Jordan Rhodes we're expecting a goal every game. That's not a realistic expectation. But I think what we're asking for is if you're not scoring, you're helping in other ways, which she definitely is. So I would say she had another good performance, and right now is the starting forward, and I think for good reason. I think she definitely had a nice one. Going to the subs, I thought Downing had a good game for someone who hasn't played all season. But I think we're going to see more of her. She's going to get more time and shake more rust off. And I think she's going to really battle for one of the starting wing positions, right? And I think she has the quality to do so. I think that's why she was signed, right? It wasn't to be signed as a rotational bench player, is to be signed as a starter or someone who's going to really push for that starting position. And yeah, I think really excited to see her. I know that Derek from Tides Pod, he mentioned that was the player he was most excited to see this season, like the new signing, part of me. So yeah, I'm glad he was able to see a good performance, and now she just needs to add that finishing and that passing, the part of it, which again takes game time, right? So next up was Tiff Cameron came on. I thought Tiff played okay. She did make a really, really nice pass to Stella, which probably should have been finished. So we should probably talking about Tiff with an assist today. But yeah, I thought she played well in her 15 minutes there. Um, I already mentioned Julie Pedersen. I thought she up the level when she came on, which is always important, and which is what you're looking for. And then of course, Karima Lemire came on and up the level even more. So really good win. Really excited. I thought everyone had a good game. There was no real bad games, which I think is always going to be the case in the 4-0 win. So yeah, so go Tides go, and this was a really important one. Okay, so let's talk about the next game that's upcoming. It's Halifax versus Ottawa, back in Halifax for this one, and that is Friday and at 6 p.m. Atlantic time start and 5 p.m. Eastern time start, and that can be found on TSN or ESPN Plus. So another game against Ottawa. Holy smokes, we're gonna know them pretty well after this one. So far in the season, it's 1-1. So the Tides won the first one. Ottawa won the rematch. Ottawa's coming off a tough loss to Montreal, who I think, is sneaky best team, right? Like they're number one in the standings. I know it's very early on, but Montreal's looking like a powerhouse this year, and that game was against the two hottest teams in the league with Ottawa and Montreal, and kind of showing, okay, who can be the dominant team coming out of the blocks here, and Montreal wins that 2-1. So I think Ottawa's going to be really hungry to bounce back and kind of show that, hey, that was a tough one, and we wanna revenge that. So Halifax is not in an easy game come Friday, but Halifax themselves are off a 4-0 win, so it's going to be really interesting. We'll see what players are healthy for this one. Yeah, it's gonna be. I feel like Stephen Hart last time in the rematch played more of a defensive system and had two kind of defensive midfielders. I think to win this one, and much like Montreal did, is they attacked Ottawa. They didn't sit back. They didn't say, okay, well, they have a really good offense and, they score a lot of goals. It was, no, we trust our team. We trust our system. Let's get after them. And I think, much like the first game against Ottawa, we have to go back to that. Much like the game against Calgary, we have to trust our players, whether it's the quote unquote starters of the first few games of the season or the starters of the last few games of the season. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping Stephen Hart does, and I hope the players are up for it, because you win this game, it's another big statement. It's another big statement of, hey, the Halifax Tides can hang with the best teams in the league. Does that mean they're one of the best teams in the league? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. Okay, so before I wrap it up, I'm just going to talk about some of the results around the league. I already talked about the 2-1 Montreal win over Ottawa. The next one was a 2-1 win Vancouver over Toronto, which I don't know what that means. Like, Toronto is struggling right now. They were the first place team in the regular season last year, runner ups in the playoffs. I think they're trying to find who they are. Losing quite a few players. I know Emma Regal obviously was a huge loss. Esther Okawankwo was injured at the moment. I think they really want her back. But yeah, no, I think that's a surprise win. Vancouver with kind of two sneaky wins back to back, one versus Halifax and one versus Toronto there. So Vancouver's kind of climbing the table themselves. And then the last game, of course, was the Halifax Calgary one. So next up is, I already mentioned Halifax playing Ottawa. Montreal plays Vancouver. So we'll see what Vancouver is, right? Are they really coming up the mountain and turning things around? Because I know on the podcast I was with Derek and Lynn on Tides Pod there, Vancouver hadn't had a win. They didn't have a single win on the season, and now they have quite a few here. So let's see what they are against the top team right now, Montreal. And then the next game is kind of your two bottom teams, right? Calgary and Toronto, and seeing can Toronto turn it around against Calgary, much like the Halifax Tides did. That's a must, almost a must win for Toronto. I know must win early in the season, but you got to give your fans and your players some confidence, and that's the one. And yeah, Calgary, we talked about early on in podcasts where they didn't make many changes. They hired an interim coach to start the season, which I've never heard of. I think Calgary's in a lot of trouble, and so far that prediction is coming true. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day, and looking forward to that Tides match against Ottawa on Friday. Take care, everyone, and go Tides, go.